Before I became a minister, I wanted to go into broadcasting. And before that, I had my 8 millimeter camera. And even as a young person, even in my just early teens, I was doing movies and films and things like that. To do good ones, I had to learn. So I got a lot of books and learned a whole lot about filming. And that has paid off as a pastor because we put together one of the best TV shows. In fact, it's one of the longest running local shows in my city. Our viewership is quite high, both YouTube and Facebook, Instagram. And I think part of it, obviously, the content of the message is the most important, no doubt. But I think part of it is that through the knowledge that I gained when I was a teenager, I've applied that knowledge into our own filming of our church services and personal individual messages that I give to Facebook and social media. So I thought it would be a good thing for me to kind of share with you some of the things that I've learned that I've noticed my fellow ministers seem to make a mistake in. And so we're going to talk about how to create better videos for your church and ministry. And some of the things are just quite simple and practical. I'm not going to get into what cameras to buy and things like that. I'm just going to get into very simple filming that the average pastor can understand. So the first thing I want us to look at is the first thing is when you hold your camera and you're filming. I know most of you like to film this way, vertical up. Don't do that. Learn to start filming this way. This is the widescreen. That's what you see on television. That's what you see on movies and all that. And yet so many people, they start filming this way. Please stop doing that. Start filming this way and make it a wide shot so that when people watch you, they can flip your camera and look like a television, or they can beam it up to their television. Sometimes through Chromecast and other features, they can actually watch your sermon on the television. But when you do this, you're cutting 1/3 or actually 2/3 of the chance for people to view on a widescreen TV. So start filming this way. Now there is an exception to that rule, and that is when you're filming stories on Facebook and Instagram. That's that 24-hour story that disappears on your Instagram or Facebook account. In that case, you do want to film this way because there's no other way to flip it, okay? So that would be the only exception if you're doing social media. But outside of that, please, my brothers and sisters, start filming this way from now on. Another important thing, and I see this mistake made by so many pastors, is they don't understand the 1/3 rule. Now, I'm going to give you a little bit of close-up. This is the 1/3 rule. I want you to imagine your screen having two lines divided into 1/3. Do you see those two lines? Many ministers don't know about the 1/3 rule, and the rule is quite simple. The eyes of the subject, or in this case, you the preacher, right? The eyes of the subject must be right along 1/3 from the top of the screen. Do you see this? And that's what you want. That's what I'm doing right now. If you'll divide the screen into 1/3, you'll notice that my eyes are about the 1/3 level. Okay? Now, if I backed up, then my eyes are getting close to the 1/2. You don't want to do that. But I see so many ministers, the common mistakes ministers make, let me show you, is they seem to want to put their eyes in the middle of the camera. I'll give you an example of that. Oh, let's go the other way. Oh, I'm going there. All right, I got a new machine here. This is normally what ministers like to do. They like to speak right here, so they think their eyes are in the middle of the screen. And there's no doubt your eyes are on the middle of the screen, but that is incorrect filming. This is probably the most common mistake that you see it right here. Don't do this. And I see so much headroom, and the people's eyes are about 1/2 of the screen. Don't do that. That is a mistake that you don't need to repeat, okay? And then, of course, you don't want to have it so high where your eyes are almost getting out of the screen. You understand? The only exception to the eyes being, or at least your head being slightly cut off, the only exception is if I'm close up. All right, let's try to figure this one. Now, right there, I have a close-up picture, right? As I'm talking to you. In this case, my eyes are still 1/3, but I'm having to cut off my head. That would be one of the exceptions on it, okay? So let's go ahead and get our camera back to 1/3. Okay, so quit making this mistake. I see this from ministers all the time. They just put their eyes on the middle of the screen. Make sure your eyes are on the 1/3 top of the screen. Okay. There is an exception to the rule, though. All right? Can anybody think of an exception? The exception is when you're doing a full body shot. So here's a minister on a full body shot. As you can tell, his eyes are on the top of the screen, and it's not 1/3 because otherwise his eyes would be here. But we're talking about a full body shot. In this case, it's okay to break that rule because it will look awkward. Let me see if I can do it here. I was trying to practice a little bit. Let's see if I do a full body shot. I'm close to a full, you see that? We got a close body shot. And my eyes are on the higher part of the screen. I would say you want it even a little bit higher. Let's see if I can do it a little bit even higher. Yeah. And no, now I went too low. You don't want to do that either. So anyway, you get the idea. Is on a full body shot, there's my feet and my head. Now, my eyes are definitely above the 1/3 line, but that's okay. This is one of the rules that you can break when you're doing a full body shot, okay? So keep that thought in mind when you're filming. All right, let's try to get my camera. All right, we're back on 1/3. Do you see this? My eyes are 1/3 on the camera. Now, so now we're going to talk about framing your pictures, okay? Now, generally, like what I'm doing right now, I'm speaking to you, therefore, I'm in the middle of the frame. You see, I have as much space to my right as to my left. I'm in the middle. This is what you generally want to do. You want to be in the middle when you're looking and talking to the camera, all right? However, let's assume you are in church and you have a camera person capturing you. And if you're like me, you like to walk around, right? We all kind of, as ministers, we like to walk around a little bit. And so what we have to do is recognize something, that when we are walking, we generally are turning and facing maybe the congregation or headed that direction. When we do this, then the framing must change from the center, and you must put the subject in the back of the camera so that there's more space in front of him. Do you see where I'm at? I'm sort of in the back as I'm making my way walking down this direction, and you want that camera person to follow you all the way and keep the space, because what I'm doing is I'm having a profile shot. And with the profile, you want space in front. And a good example of a profile, I think I gave you a good example right now, but here's a good example of a profile shot. You see, so you have the girl looking to her left, your right, and you have spacing there. You want to do this. The big mistake, and this is a cardinal mistake, you don't want to do this where the person is facing to his left, but notice all the space that he has here. Wrong framing. That would be like me facing this way and the camera is this way. And here's what happens. If you have a camera person trying to follow you, and what's going to happen is he's getting behind you, and you're walking to the congregation this way, and guess what happens? You might even get out of the camera. Do you see? And that's why the camera person, whenever you turn left, like your left, your right, then you want that camera person to get ahead of you, because you want space, because he's anticipating you probably going to walk. And if you walk, he can get ahead and you won't get out of the screen. So remember that in framing. Now, let's talk about more than one camera. Let's imagine you're filming your church services. And I recommend doing 3 cameras at the minimum. We have 4, but we don't really only need 3, but we have 4. But 3 cameras are sufficient to create a good worship service. Now, the 3 positions of the camera are very important. The first position is the main camera. And remember this, the main camera is called the main camera for a reason, because it's going to take up more than 50% of the shots of the service. All right, remember this. Even though you might have 3 cameras, the main camera is not going to be just 1/3. It's going to be 50% or more of all shots. And the main camera is somewhere like where I'm at. I might be a little bit close for church service, but this is about a good one. If you're a little uncomfortable being that close, you can maybe make it about right here. I call it the waist shot. So this is a good first shot. I sort of like it a little bit closer, but right here you're telling with my belly button, and this is a good shot. Now, the reason why I call this the main shot, because this is something that many people do not understand. Let me get a little closer because I like to get closer to you. Is the TV audience or the social media audience doesn't feel close unless the camera is close to the speaker. They need to see your eyes. They need to see your expressions. They need to see every wrinkle and every freckle. You know what I'm saying? Because it draws them close to you as a speaker. But I find so many mistakes being done where, and I've seen this happen all the time, is this becomes the main camera. Is they're so far away from the person. And I'm telling you, this is a mistake to do a full body shot as the main camera because you're distant. And what you're doing is you're creating distance between you and the listener. So emotionally and psychologically, you're creating a distance. Don't do that. You want to make sure you create a closeness with you and the listeners and the TV audience or the social media audience, whoever you're using. So you want to have a close-up. So I sort of like it right here. So when you're talking to the camera, you're close to that person. You understand? They can see your eyes. They feel a closeness. They recognize your face. But I've seen a lot of amateur churches where the main camera is like a full body shot. All right? You don't want anything further than a waist shot. This is even about as far as you ever want to get on your main camera. So this is your main camera. It is somewhat of a semi close-up. Then you need to have another camera angle either to the right or to the left of the main camera, and that's going to be your full body shot. This is going to be the shot that captures your body. All right? And this is your body shot. So this is your second camera. So when you're walking, this camera easily is able to follow you. Because what happens, let's be honest, a lot of our volunteers, they're amateurs, they're not really that good and it's hard for them to follow. But on a full shot, your director can switch to that full shot and it's easier for that camera to follow the subject or the preacher in that full shot. So that's a little hint to you, all right? So try that have that second camera to be right or left of the main camera. Remember, main camera is in front, always in front. Then you have the full body shot of the minister. That would be your second shot. And then your third camera will be the opposite of wherever that other camera's at. And that's going to provide the full shot of the congregation, at least the back of their heads. So you want to be able to get a picture of people in the congregation hearing the sermon. And that's going to be your third camera. That creates an ability for the audience to comprehend where they're at, who you're speaking to. I've seen so many ministers, they never show the audience, not even the back of their heads. They don't see. And you start to look and think, who's there? What does the church look like? And so that third camera, it kind of creates the scenery, a picture. It's letting you know, where are we at? It's like, you ever see a TV show or movie? They maybe move to an apartment, to a house, and then they'll show a picture of the house, and then you'll see them in the living room. What do they show the house? They want you to know where they're at. It's kind of giving you a picture of where they're at. And so many ministers fail to provide that third camera of the people shot. Now, I provide in the back, not in the front, because number one, what if there's empty seats? You don't want to create, right now with COVID, who cares, right? But you don't want to create just like a bunch of empty seats. So I would like to do one behind me, slightly behind me, to capture me with the audience in the background. That would be really ideal. But you need to make sure you have a lot of people there, or otherwise it gets discouraging when people see a lot of empty seats. So you don't want to do that. Or you can do what they did at the Super Bowl, do a bunch of cutouts. But anyway, so those are my three camera shots. Now we have a fourth one that is nearby the stage. And what we do, that is what we call the close-up. And we train that person to get real close. And I tell them, chest-wise, I want you to get me right in the chest. So when I talk to that camera, I'm talking directly to them, and it is a close-up. And the people on television, they get it like he's real close to us. He's talking to us. And I love that close-ups. And so if you can, try doing those close-ups. They are excellent shots, okay? So anyway, so those are your 3 camera angles. If you have a 4th one, God bless you. And it's great if you have one that you can move around, maybe in the back of the people and do that. That'd be great. We don't do that. I would like to do it, but it's just a lot of work to do it. And I don't know how much it's going to increase viewership. So we don't do it. It's a lot of things. But now, that's how you do your church services. Make sure, though, that the microphone is on you, because you don't want the sound to be coming through the house speakers. That is awful, all right? People will turn you off real quick. So make sure the microphone is on you. So no matter what camera you go to, it sounds the same all the time, okay? Now, let's imagine you're out of the church and you're at your house or you're at the lake and you want to do a one-to-one video. And you're going to use your phone to create a video. I mean, thank God for these phones. They're so easy. That's what I'm doing. I'm using a phone right now. So this becomes a really good way to communicate to people. Now, let me tell you something, and this is something I just recently learned, is don't make the mistake of looking at yourself, okay? See, right now, I'm not looking at myself. I'm looking at the camera, the lens. The lens in this case is in the upper left hand. So when you look at this, remember, you're looking at the lens, all right? Or in this case, the lens will be right here, okay, in this phone. But what we do so many times, we look at ourselves as we're preaching and we're slightly missing it, all right? So look at me. I'm going to give you an example, all right? I'm looking at me right now. My eyes are slightly off, but I'm staring at me. But now let me look at where that lens is. That lens, even though I don't see me, I know my eyes are more focused on the people watching the video, all right? So remember to do that. I just recently learned to do that. And sometimes I still mess up on that. Now, if you're doing, let's say, a regular show at 12 noon every Monday, you come and give them an encouraging word from God, then keep it consistent. You might want to keep in the same location. It's cool to do that so that everyone is familiar that this is our show, or the show that our pastor puts together. All right. See, I'm so, okay, there it is. That's more the 1/3 rule. I'm teaching you 1/3. I want to keep the 1/3. But anyway, so keep it consistent. But if you're like me, you like to do a lot of different shows at different times. Hey, Sonia, there's my, oh, she needs my phone. I borrowed her phone. She's on the phone right now. All right. So let's say you're like me and you just get inspiration. Like right now, I got inspiration. I want to teach about how to do good church and ministry videos. So in this case, be creative. Don't just be sitting on your couch or on your desk. Go outside. Go by a lake. If you have a lake, go to a park. Go to your garden. Go different rooms in your house. You understand? Be creative, because what happens is when people are scrolling down and they see a new background, they're more likely to stop and watch you. All right? So that's a little success tip that I'm giving you, is kind of move around. And then one final thing is, if you're doing live Facebook or live Instagram, I know you're going to not probably agree with me, but I don't like these countdowns. All right? These countdowns are boring. Well, you say, but I don't want anyone to miss any of the service. That's why we do the countdown. Let me ask you, when people come to church, do they all show up at the start of the service? No, if you're like me, our church is like 10 to 20% of the people show up. Well, why are you so worried about not everyone hearing the very first song? All right? So I would not get caught up on countdown. Here's the reason, all right? I'm going to tell you the real reason. As people are scrolling through Facebook or Instagram looking for things to watch, if they see a countdown or say some sort of graphic that looks like a commercial, they go right past it. You want them to see you. You want them to see the band playing. You understand? You want to see something that captures their eyes, and those countdowns do not do it. Now, if you're determined that you want to wait, you don't want to give people 5 minutes to get, or 10 minutes or whatever, that 10 minutes is too long, but you want people to take time, you want to give them time to tune in, well then, let me tell you, why don't you create a pre-video in that case? Do something, maybe talk to the people that you're about to come to the church service. We appreciate you tuning in. Please share this right now. In just a few moments, you're going to get to experience the band. If you want to take communion, get a cracker and grape juice handy. You'll take communion with it. I mean, do something as a pre-video. rather than a countdown. I think that would be a lot more successful than that boring countdown. Well, I hope you got a lot out of this video, and if you liked it, please share it with your friends. I really want you pastors and ministers to be really successful in video ministry, and I hope that I've been able to help you. God bless.